What if the very clothes you wear could open doors to spiritual forces you never intended to invite? What if behind every trendy design and fashionable symbol, there lies a hidden agenda aiming to desensitize your soul? Imagine realizing that protecting your spirit might begin with something as simple and powerful as what you choose to put on each morning. Welcome to an awakening, a call to discernment in a world where even the fabric you wear carries more spiritual weight than you ever imagined. Stop wearing these 8 things. They're silently killing your image. Billy Graham, Motivation, YouTube. The clothes we wear are more than just fabric stitched together. They carry meaning, intention, and sometimes even spiritual weight. Every symbol, every design, and even the way something is crafted can hold a deeper significance than we might realize. The world often tells us that fashion is just self-expression, that what we wear is just a matter of personal style. But what if I told you that certain things we put on our bodies can open doors to spiritual forces, some of which we should never invite in? Think about it. Why Doc Urton symbols keep appearing over and over in high fashion, in streetwear and jewelry? Is it just coincidence, or is there something more to it? The enemy has always worked subtly, disguising darkness in things that seem trendy, innocent, even appealing. He knows most people won't openly welcome demonic influences into their lives. So instead, he works through deception, embedding these influences into the things we casually accept, the things we wear without a second thought. Throughout history, civilizations have used symbols on clothing as a means of spiritual communication. Warriors wore garments marked with sigils for protection. Ancient priests and shamans adorn themselves with specific patterns and colors. Even today, in various cultures, people still use clothing as a means to invoke power, luck, or divine favor. But just as symbols can be used for good, they can also be used for evil. The enemy understands this and has woven his influence into modern fashion, dressing it up as mere aesthetics while using it to slowly desensitize people to darkness. Look at the rise of occult imagery in fashion. Not too long ago, certain symbols were only seen in secret societies, esoteric texts, or ancient rituals. Now they're plastered on t-shirts, jackets, hats, and accessories. The pentagram, the all-seeing eye, the inverted cross. These are not just cool designs. They are marks that have been used for centuries in rituals, witchcraft, and demonic practices. Yet people wear them every day without realizing what they truly represent. And it's not just the obvious ones. Some symbols are more subtle. Ancient runes, alchemical signs, even certain animal prints and patterns that hold spiritual significance. In dark traditions, many of these designs originate from rituals meant to summon spirits, manipulate energies, or invoke power from sources that are anything but holy. When we wear these things, we align ourselves consciously or not with their original purpose. You might say, well, I don't believe in that stuff. It's just a design to me. But let me ask you this. Does the spiritual realm work based on what we personally believe, or does it operate on spiritual laws? If a person walks into fire, does it matter whether there's a reason the world has become so fascinated with darkness? Have you noticed it? It's everywhere. Music, videos, movies, social media, and especially fashion. It used to be that occult symbols were hidden in secret societies, known only to those deeply involved in their practices. But now they're paraded down runways, printed on t-shirts, and sold to millions who have no idea what they're truly wearing. Some people think it's just a trend, just an aesthetic, just another edgy design, but the enemy doesn't deal in trends. He deals in deception. Look at what's being pushed today. The pentagram, the inverted cross, the all-seeing eye. These are not random shapes thrown together by designers trying to be creative. These are marks of ancient rituals, symbols of allegiance to something far darker than most people are willing to acknowledge. The world wants you to think it's just art, just fashion. But make no mistake, these symbols have meaning. They always have from the very beginning. The enemy has worked to blur the lines between what is good and what is evil. He knows if he can get people to play with darkness, even in ignorance, he's already won half the battle. So he repackages the occult, dresses it up as cool, rebellious, and trendy. He takes what was once feared and makes it desirable. And when people wear these things, whether they believe in them or not, they are allowing those meanings, those associations, those spirits into their lives. Have you ever wondered why these particular symbols keep showing up in the biggest fashion brands? Do you think it's just by accident? No, it's intentional. The world of high fashion is filled with people who openly embrace spiritual darkness. Some of the biggest designers have spoken about their involvement in mysticism, their fascination with esoteric knowledge, and even their participation in rituals. They don't hide it. They weave it into their creations, knowing that the more people wear these symbols, the more they normalize what they truly stand for. And it's not just pentagrams and inverted crosses. Sometimes the demonic influence is more subtle. Have you seen clothing covered in snakes, skulls, and imagery of destruction? Have you noticed how much fashion glorifies death, rebellion, and chaos? That's not by accident either. The Bible tells us that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And yet, those are the very things being glorified in modern fashion. They say it's just a style, just self-expression, but whose expression the enemy loves to make sin look attractive. He doesn't show up in red horns and a pitchfork. He disguises himself in beauty, in creativity, in things that seem harmless. At first glance, he makes darkness look desirable, and the moment we stop questioning it, the moment we accept it as just fashion, we open a door we were never meant to open. We have to be aware. We have to be vigilant, because the enemy is after more than just your wardrobe. He's after your soul. And if he can get you to celebrate the things that belong to his kingdom, if he can get you to wear them to represent them, then he's already made his way into your life. It's time to wake up. It's time to stop letting the world tell us what is acceptable. If something is rooted in evil, it doesn't matter how trendy it is. It has no place in our lives. We cannot claim to walk in the light while clothing ourselves in symbols of darkness. We are called to be set apart, and that starts with every choice we make, including what we wear. Look around at the world today, and you'll see that fashion is no longer just about clothing. It's about influence. It's about messaging. It's about shifting culture and reshaping beliefs, one trend at a time. And if you look closely, you'll notice something disturbing. The biggest names in fashion, the most influential celebrities, and the most powerful voices in entertainment are constantly pushing imagery and symbols rooted in darkness. This isn't by accident. The fashion industry is one of the most influential forces on the planet. It dictates what people wear, how they see themselves, and even what they value, and behind the glitz and glamour, behind the flashing lights of the runway and the carefully curated social media posts, there's an agenda, one that is not from God. Why do you think so many celebrities wear clothing covered in demonic symbols? Why are so many of them drawn to pentagrams, all-seeing eyes, and references to the occult? Why do they wear clothing that glorifies death, rebellion, and destruction? Because the industry they serve is deeply spiritual. Many of them openly embrace mysticism, secret societies, and rituals that the average person wouldn't even believe exist. And whether they realize it or not, they are being used to lead millions into accepting what should never be accepted. When people see their favorite celebrities wearing these things, they stop questioning them. They start thinking it's just a trend, just fashion, just harmless self-expression. But let me ask you something. Why does the enemy need to show up in a frightening way when he can walk right into your home through your favorite public figures? Why would he try to scare you away from darkness when he can make it look glamorous, rebellious, powerful? He knows that people imitate what they admire, and when those in the spotlight wear symbols of darkness, when they dress in ways that mock God and celebrate sin, they are sending a message to millions. This is cool. This is normal. This is what success looks like. And without even realizing it, people follow along. They wear the same things. They embrace the same styles. They let those influences seep into their lives, not knowing that they're stepping into dangerous spiritual territory. It doesn't stop with celebrities. The biggest designers in the world are part of this. Too, have you ever noticed how often high-fashion brands use religious mockery in their designs? Have you seen the collections that feature upside-down crosses, blasphemous imagery, and direct references to demonic figures? And yet, people walk into stores and buy these things, paying hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars to clothe themselves in symbols that represent everything God stands against. This is not just about what looks good. This is about spiritual warfare, because the enemy understands something many people overlook. What you wear represents what you align yourself with. That's why in the Bible, clothing is often tied to identity. Priests wore garments that set them apart for God. Prophets wore specific clothing that marked their calling. Even Jesus' robe was significant enough that soldiers cast lots for it. Clothing has always carried meaning. And today, the fashion industry is using it to push an agenda that is anything but godly. The world wants to convince you that these things don't matter, that it's just fashion, that you're overthinking it. But let me ask you, when did we become so numb to the symbols of darkness? When did we start embracing what we used to reject? That's how the enemy works. He doesn't show up all at once. He moves in gradually. He introduces these things little by little until people no longer recognize them for what they are. But we are called to be different. We are called to stand apart, to be aware, to walk in discernment. We cannot blindly follow trends just because the world says they're popular. We cannot allow celebrities and fashion icons to dictate what we put on our bodies. Because at the end of the day, this is not about style, it's about who we serve. And if what we wear glorifies darkness, then we need to ask ourselves, are we really walking in the light? Most people don't think twice about where their clothing comes from. They see something they like in a store, buy it, and wear it without a second thought. But what if I told you that some of the things people put on their bodies carry more than just fabric and stitching? What if I told you that certain pieces of clothing, certain accessories, even certain brands have spiritual weight attached to them? Baggage that isn't just physical, but deeply spiritual. See, the enemy has a way of hiding in plain sight. He knows that if he can get people to accept things without question, if he can get them to wear something without ever asking where it came from or what it represents, then he's already won half the battle. And one of the ways he does this is through clothing that has been directly inspired by or even created for dark spiritual purposes. There are cultures and traditions around the world that use garments, jewelry, and accessories and spiritual rituals. Some of these rituals are meant to summon spirits to invoke certain energies, or even to dedicate a person to a specific spiritual force. And while many people in modern society have forgotten these connections, the spiritual realm hasn't. Spirits don't leave just because people stop believing in them. If something was created for a dark purpose, that purpose doesn't disappear just because someone decides to wear it as a fashion statement. Have you ever noticed how certain styles seem to come out of nowhere? Suddenly you see them on runways, in stores, on celebrities, and everyone just assumes it's a new trend. But if you dig deep enough, you'll often find that these styles aren't random at all. Many of them have origins in ancient spiritual practices, some of which were never meant to be played with. Take jewelry, for example. Some necklaces, rings, and bracelets carry inscriptions or markings that people don't even understand when they buy them. Some of these are protective symbols from pagan rituals. Others are charms meant to connect the wearer to specific spiritual forces, and yet they're sold as everyday accessories worn by people who have no idea what they're truly inviting into their lives, or consider certain fabrics and patterns that have deep roots in spiritual ceremony. Some of these designs were created for specific purposes: to channel energies, to mark initiations, to signify allegiance to a particular deity. And yet they get picked up by the fashion industry mass, produced and sold to people who have no clue what they're wrapping themselves in. Even certain brand collaborations are tied to dark spiritual influences. Some designers openly speak about their inspirations, admitting that they were drawn to mysticism, ancient rituals, or occult practices when creating their collections. And yet people still buy these clothes, thinking they're just being fashionable, never realizing that they're literally covering themselves in something that was never meant to be worn casually. You might be thinking, well, I didn't participate in the ritual. Well, I just bought the shirt. But let me ask you something. If an object was cursed, would you bring it into your home? If something was used in a demonic ceremony, would you wear it around your neck? The truth is, spiritual influence doesn't require your belief to be real, just like poison doesn't stop being poison just because someone doesn't believe in it. A spiritually tainted object doesn't lose its influence just because someone doesn't recognize its origin. This is why discernment matters. The Bible warns us over and over again to be careful about what we allow into our lives, to test the spirits, to avoid anything that even has the appearance of evil. And yet, so many people walk around wearing things that have been created with spiritual darkness woven into them, completely unaware of what they're carrying. The enemy doesn't need you to worship him outright. He just needs you to be careless. He just needs you to stop asking questions. He just needs you to let your guard down, to be more focused on looking good than on being spiritually protected. And if he can get you to wear something that was meant to invite darkness, then he's already found a way to attach himself to you without you even realizing it. This isn't about being paranoid. It's about being wise. It's about being aware. Because the moment you start asking questions, the moment you start paying attention, you'll begin to see just how much of this world has been carefully designed to lead people away from God. One piece of clothing at a time. And when you see it for what it truly is, you won't just change what you wear, you'll change what you allow into your life. There's something most people don't realize about the world we live in. Nothing is random. The things we see, the things we hear, the things we wear, they all have meaning. And yet, the world has conditioned us to stop asking questions. We've been trained to accept what's in front of us, to go along with whatever is popular, to assume that trends are just trends. But let me ask you, why do so many brands, so many designers, so many corporations keep pushing the same symbols over and over again? Why do we see the same occult imagery woven into clothing, hidden in logos subtly placed in the things people wear every single day? The enemy doesn't work through chaos. He works through strategy. He knows that the quickest way to desensitize people to darkness is to surround them with it so much that they stop noticing it. And one of the most effective ways to do that is through fashion. If he can get people to wear demonic symbols without a second thought, if he can turn the things that once made people uncomfortable into something they see every day, then he's already won half the battle. Look at some of the biggest brands in the world. Their logos aren't just creative designs. Many of them carry deep spiritual meanings. Some of them are based on ancient sigils, markings used in witchcraft and occult practices. Some of them incorporate numbers and symbols tied to demonic influence. And yet people walk around wearing them, advertising them, representing them, having no idea what they're truly aligning themselves with. It's no accident that certain symbols keep showing up on clothing. The all-seeing eye, the pentagram, the snake, the inverted cross. These aren't just artistic choices. They are signals, they are messages, they are declarations, and the people behind these brands know exactly what they're doing. Some of them have spoken about it openly, admitting their fascination with mysticism, their belief in hidden knowledge, their desire to push the boundaries between light and darkness. They embed these things in their designs, knowing that most people won't question them. And every time someone puts on one of those pieces, they are unknowingly coming into agreement with something much bigger than they realize some might. Say, well, I don't believe in all that. It's just a logo, it's just fashion. But let me tell you something. The spiritual realm doesn't operate based on what you believe. It operates based on what's real. And if something has a spiritual meaning, that meaning doesn't just disappear because someone chooses to ignore it. If a logo was created with the intention of representing something demonic, wearing it still carries that weight. Whether someone realizes it or not, the Bible is clear that we should avoid even the appearance of evil. It tells us to guard our hearts, to be mindful of what we align ourselves with. And yet, so many people walk around every day wearing symbols that represent things completely opposed to God. They think it's harmless, but they don't realize that the moment they put it on, they are sending a message. They are making a statement. They are identifying themselves with something. Whether they mean to or not, the enemy loves it when people stop paying attention. He loves it when they think it's just fashion, just a brand, just a trend. Because the less people question, the easier it is for him to keep pushing his agenda forward. And that agenda is to normalize darkness, to make people so comfortable with demonic imagery that they no longer see anything wrong with it. But we are called to be different. We are called to stand apart, to walk in the light, to be aware of what we are taking into our lives. We cannot just wear something because it looks good. We have to ask where it comes from, what it represents, what we are truly aligning ourselves with, because at the end of the day, this is bigger than fashion. This is spiritual. And if we don't start paying attention now, we might wake up one day and realize that we've been wearing the enemy's agenda without even knowing it. There was a time when modesty and dignity were seen as virtues, when the way a person dressed reflected their character, their values, their respect for themselves and for others. But something has shifted, something has changed. Look around today, and you'll see that the fashion industry is doing everything it can to strip people of their dignity, to erase modesty, to push the boundaries further and further until nothing is. Off limits, clothing has gone from being a way to express honor and self-respect to becoming a tool of temptation, a way to provoke a means of glorifying lust rather than godliness. The enemy has always worked this way. He knows that if he can distort the way people see themselves, if he can convince them that their worth is tied to how much skin they show, then he's already won part of the battle. He takes what God intended for beauty and purity and twists it into something meant to distract, to degrade, to diminish. He whispers the lie that modesty is outdated, that dignity is restrictive, that true confidence comes from revealing rather than covering. And far too many people have believed that lie. The world celebrates clothing that leaves nothing to the imagination. Everywhere you look, you see advertisements that glorify the very things the Bible warns against. Lust is promoted, sensuality is celebrated, and people don't even realize that what they wear affects not only how they are, seen by others, but also the spiritual atmosphere around them. The enemy doesn't just use words to tempt. He uses images. He uses appearance. He uses the way people dress to create stumbling blocks, to lead others down paths they were never meant to go. But this isn't just about avoiding temptation for others. It's about the spiritual condition of the person wearing it. When people dress in a way that embraces lust and immorality, they are unknowingly aligning themselves with a spirit that is not of God. The Bible is clear about this. It warns against immodesty, against the spirit of seduction, against using appearance as a means to gain attention for the wrong reasons. And yet, the world has flipped the script, convincing people that if they aren't flaunting themselves, they're missing out. The enemy knows exactly what he's doing. He's not just changing fashion, he's changing mindsets. He's convincing young men and women that their value is in their appearance, that their worth is in how much they can reveal, that being noticed by the world is more important than being honored by God. And once that lie takes root, it's hard to break free from it. Think about how quickly these trends spread. One celebrity wears something provocative, and suddenly millions are copying it. One influencer posts a photo, and instantly it becomes the new standard. People don't even stop to ask if what they're wearing aligns with their values, with their faith, with their purpose. They just go along with it, afraid of being left out, afraid of being labeled as too strict or too conservative. But let me tell you something. Standing for righteousness has never been about being popular, choosing modesty, choosing dignity, choosing to reflect the purity of God in what you wear is not weakness, it's strength. It's refusing to let the world define your worth. This isn't about following a strict dress code. It's about understanding that what you wear reflects who you are. It's about knowing that God calls His people to be set apart, to be different, to represent Him even in the way they present themselves. It's about asking yourself a simple question. Does what I'm wearing honor God, or does it serve the agenda of a world that is running from Him? The enemy will keep pushing the boundaries. He will keep trying to erase the line between purity and temptation. But we don't have to follow along. We don't have to give in. We can choose to walk in wisdom. We can choose to clothe ourselves in dignity. We can choose to reflect the light of God rather than the darkness of a world that has forgotten Him. And when we make that choice, we don't just change our wardrobe. We change the atmosphere. Around fashion is no longer just about fabric and trends. It has become a silent battlefield for your soul. Every choice you make, even in what you wear, is either aligning you with the light or drawing you closer to darkness. To walk boldly in faith means walking carefully in discernment, understanding that appearances matter not just to the world, but to the spiritual forces that seek influence over it. When you clothe yourself with awareness, wisdom, and dignity, you armor your spirit against forces that would otherwise slip through unnoticed. Today is the day to open your eyes, protect your heart, and reclaim every part of your life, starting with the very clothes on your back.